Hi everyone, welcome to RockyDTV. It makes sense to me now. Tamar and her mother, Miss Evelyn, are one and the same. Trina and Twanda said it, and Iyanla said that Tamar acts out what Miss Evelyn feels inside. Ding ding ding! Just before the cameras cut to Iyanla talking to Trina and Twanda, I thought exactly that. Tamar and Miss E are the same. Miss E sees when Tamar has gone too far and will put a stop to it. But who puts a stop to Miss E when she's gone too far with her negative attitude? So they're the same. In last week's episode of Braxton Family Values, Miss Evelyn was really disrespectful to Iyanla. And, Iyanla should have stopped after asking about the second or third time if Miss Evelyn was committed to the work that she planned on doing with them, and Miss Evelyn kept saying, she'll see how it goes. Iyanla should have stopped, but Miss Evelyn at the same time was being really disrespectful. And in that moment, I saw where Tamar got her nasty behavior from. Let me just touch on the other sisters before I delve into Tamar's behavior on this final episode. When Iyanla spoke to Traci, she said that when the sisters spoke to her about striking from filming the show because of the contract dispute, she said she told them no on the phone, and I believe her. Tamar is the one who came to them with the idea, but I absolutely believe Traci. Traci has bills to pay, and even though she may have felt that if they didn't show up, it might be her moment to shine, I also believe she didn't want to get fired. It was admirable to see that Traci could empathize with Tamar, saying she felt abandoned after the four sisters moved out of the family home and on with their own lives. As Traci said, she felt abandoned when the other four sisters got their individual and group recording contracts back in the 90s. Yes, if it were you and your sisters got the chance to have a recording contract and that was something you wanted as well, you would feel abandoned. I know I would. So I don't fault her for continuing to film. If she felt the money was enough to support her and her family, why not? Why does it always have to be what Tamar says? It doesn't always have to go the way Tamar says it or the way Toni says it. And what I loved as well was when Iyanla was talking to Trina and to Wanda, she said to them, why do you think it's okay for Tamar to do Tamar and Vince and also have her career, and Toni to go away and film a movie, but it's not okay for Traci to film the show without them? Why is it that everybody else gets to shine, but Traci doesn't get her moment in the limelight? Trina was like, touche. So at least Trina can admit that yes, she was hurt by Traci going to film without them, but she understands. And I believe Tawanda said the same thing. So the main pain came from Tamar. Miss Evelyn and Mr. Braxton were talking with Iyanla as well, and Mrs. Braxton said, she doesn't hate her ex-husband, but to her, she sees him as dead, which is something that Tamar said in part one of the season finale. Tamar said she sees Vince as dead, and I don't like to hear anyone talk like that. I understand that you see the marriage as dead, but for you to consider, and if this is the way they heal, to move on, I guess that's their right. I just didn't like to hear it. Mr. Braxton was shocked as well. She said she considers him dead, and the man that's sitting beside her, she doesn't know, and she doesn't want to know him because he's someone else. And he was shocked about that. Iyanla asked Miss E if she still loves her ex-husband, and she said no. He said he still loves her because she gave him all his children. So that was nice to hear. Of course, he still deserted them and did what he did, but they're trying to heal. It's not my family. I never had a dad, so I wouldn't know how that felt. But it was nice to see that they were able to sit in the same space in comparison to in the past when Miss Evelyn would not want to be in the same space with him at all. So it was good to see that they were trying to get everything worked out for their family. When Toni was talking to Iyanla, she said that when she got her recording contract with LaFace Records, Babyface and L.A. Reid, the parents, and they were all sitting down, and she, to tell the family, she said the parents told her that the devil was breaking up the family. They put it in her head that once she made it, she should come back to help the sisters. They shouldn't have to tell her that. I believe that's something that she would have done on her own, and that's fine to go, to help your family if you make it. Kim Kardashian's sex tape made her famous, which helped her sisters to become famous. But the expectation shouldn't be there that she should help. It's a heavy burden to bear. No one should have to carry that weight around. So could she have soared higher than she soared? Could she have gotten bigger than she was? It's possible. But I believe she had a fantastic career. I'd say she was right under Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. But not many people get the opportunity to access the contacts she made, make millions, lose millions, file for bankruptcy twice, and still come back to make millions again. So, Toni, you said you don't believe you can soar any higher because now you're old, but you never know. You have that beautiful voice. Of all the sisters, for me, you have the best voice. So again, you never ever ever know. Tawanda didn't really have many issues, and neither did Trina. Their main issue was with Traci going to do the show. There wasn't really much with Tawanda and Trina. But Tamar, oh my gosh. Tamar is really, it's obvious that Tamar is really, really hurt, but her behavior is rotten. She entered the room with a bad, nasty attitude, dressed in camouflage and combat boots, already, set to go to war. She already had a wall up because she was reprimanded the day before for being more than 2 hours late. She refused to admit that her being late was disrespectful. Toni admitted that she was wrong for being 15 minutes late. So why couldn't Tamar do the same? She sat there making faces and pouting her lips and claiming that Iyanla kept calling her names. Iyanla simply said to Miss Evelyn, what led Tamar to exhibit this behavior? She's like, you gonna stop with the name calling? And I'm like, wow, why so angry? Now, yes, Iyanla was a bit abrasive at times, but everyone who has watched her over the years knows that's how Iyanla works in her counseling. If you enter a space where Iyanla is set to be the leader, all other leaders have to remove their leader coats at the door, hang them on the coat rack, dress themselves in the follower and listener sweaters that are available, open their ears, and absorb the words Iyanla will be sharing. You can't have two leaders in the same room, in the same space, because then there's going to be the butting of the heads. So you guys agreed to meet, so participate with respect. And it seems as if Tamar does not know how to respect anyone else. She expects all respect to come her way, but she doesn't know how to give it. She wants to receive it, but not give it. And that's not something a 41-year-old woman should be doing. Now, what I love about when Tamar was misbehaving, because that's really what she was doing, as if she were a 7-year-old child, Miss E checked her. Miss E let her know, no, you're not going to be doing that. You're not going to disrespect Iyanla. You're here for a reason. And Tamar was trying to defend herself, but she's disrespecting. She said, cut it out. And then Trina was right between Tamar and Miss E, and she moved a little bit, and Miss E turned to Trina and goes, I got this. She's like, oh no, mommy, I didn't say anything. No. You could see that everyone, no matter what it is, respects their mother. I recall in one of the seasons when Tamar got really loud in her kitchen, and Miss E was with her, and she was talking to Miss E, and Miss E told her to check it because she'll slap the piss out of her. And I was like, yep, that seems about right. My mother wouldn't have warned me. I'd have just gotten the piss slapped out of me. But it's really lovely to see that they still respect their mother regardless of what is happening in the between the sisters and between the sisters and their father. It's really wonderful to see that they still respect them. So after Miss E checked Tamar, Tamar left the living space and went out to her truck, and Iyanla went out there to check on her. I thought Iyanla should have just left it. It's obvious Tamar went out there so she could regroup away from everyone else, and Iyanla just pushed it a little bit too far, asking her what's going on. Just let her calm down and then regroup. Sometimes you just have to leave people so that they can calm themselves down, think things through. And that's what she did. So Tamar came back inside. They were all around the dining table with a white tablecloth and white napkins. And Iyanla said this was like a coming to Jesus moment where everyone's going to confess things that they've been keeping inside. They're now going to confess it to each other, because in the family it was taught that you don't put the family's business out on the streets. You keep that inside. And with doing that, I can tell you from experience, with holding the secrets in and keeping everything in the family and not talking about with anyone else, that tends to wear down your spirit. It really is a lot to deal with. So, and then if you tell your siblings how you feel, then feelings get hurt, and then there's that animosity. One doesn't want to speak to the other. And really, you need to get things out so that you can get close again. They're the ones who are supposed to be the closest to you in life. But anyway, Mr. Braxton confessed that he was wrong for not being there for his children. He admitted that he abandoned them and that he did not spend the time with them when they needed him the most. And I appreciated that a lot. Tawanda confessed that she felt judged by her family for any decisions she makes. Trina confessed that she still feels as if she's 12 years old and is still being put in the middle of her parents' divorce. Miss E confessed to putting her children in the middle of the divorce and that she's too involved with their lives. And then Toni dropped a bombshell on the family. Toni confessed to everyone that if the members of her family weren't her family members, they wouldn't be her friends. That is such a direct statement to make, and I'm sure she felt liberated after saying that. But I wonder how each person sitting there truly felt. Is it going to cause a wedge between Toni and Juan? Some or all of them? Will they now stay away from Toni? I don't believe the sisters should be blamed for always looking up to Toni as a surrogate mother, as that was a condition set by the parents, with Toni being the firstborn child. So she let them know she loves them, but sometimes she just feels as if, she doesn't like any of them. And, as long as she loves them, that's important. You can always start to like, there are times you go through certain, phases with the people you're always with, that they do things to piss you off. And in that moment, you just dislike them immensely. But if something happened to any one of them, it would break your heart. It would break you down because you love your family. You love them. They didn't do anything to you or try to mess you up in some evil way. It's just that with the constant bickering and the drama and you tend to dislike each other at one point or another in your lives. But hopefully they won't have that. They won't hold that against her. And then it was Tamar's turn to confess, and she started with her father, and she confessed to her father that she's disrespectful, and she apologized for it and asked him to forgive her. She apologized to Tawanda for not being more supportive. She apologized to Toni for being disrespectful, and Toni did the same. Toni apologized to her for the same, stating, we always see when people hurt us, but we forget we may have hurt people too. So she accepts her apology and asked her to forgive her as well. And then the tears flowed for me when she turned to Traci, when Tamar turned to Traci to apologize, and she could barely get the words out and she broke down. Now, I have to say this. I was crying and tears were flowing from my eyes, but I didn't see any tears flowing from Tamar's eyes. I think it's because of the makeup, because they have on so much makeup that it it it's absorbed into whatever that makeup is on the skin, so you don't get a chance to see it. So that's probably what it was. But she really broke down and she apologized to Traci for being mean, and asked her to. She told Traci she's very proud of her and she should be more supportive, and she's very sorry for that. And she asked her to forgive her, and Traci said, I forgive you, forgive me as well. I'm sorry that I didn't realize that you were hurting too and that you felt abandoned as well. So forgive me for that. And they said they forgave each other. And Traci said, our slate is clean. We started with a fresh slate. So that was good to see. And then Tamar Tamar apologized to her mother as well. And she asked her to forgive her. And Miss E said, of course I forgive you, baby. And then Tamar turned to Trina. And Trina turned to her and said, no, I can't do this. And then Trina started to cry. And then Tamar apologized to her for not being supportive as well. And especially because Trina has been supportive for Tamar through everything. She has helped her with everything. And she asked for forgiveness. And Trina said, of course, I forgive you. And then earlier in the episode, when Tamar first entered the living room space for their gathering, she noticed that Trina's eyelashes, the fake eyelashes, were falling off, and she offered to fix it. So she fixed it. But then Trina said, and I'll also forgive you for messing up my eyelashes. You put them on backwards. And Tamar was like, it wasn't on purpose. So it was nice to see. Those little instances in between showed that these sisters really love each other. I believe Toni is a little bit aloof because she has had to take care of them. She said in one of the scenes that once her mother fell when they were younger, and Miss E was in the hospital for a very long time, and the father was working, had to be a surrogate mother for her 5 younger siblings. So you had the 4 sisters and Michael, who wasn't there, which I don't know. He probably said, you know what, I'm not going to get caught up in this. Probably it's because he's a guy. He has a life of his own in another state. He's a nurse. He has his family, so probably couldn't take the time away to be with them in this instance, and that's perfectly fine because I believe mainly girls bicker. But I don't know. I hope the sisters rectify their issues. Maybe with Toni's confession and this workshop that they had with Iyanla, maybe they'll use this time apart to reevaluate their lives and how to navigate without Toni being the intermediary, because she said she doesn't want to be, it's a burden for her. Will Toni now leave the show? Will WeTV bring it back for season 7 without Toni? She was the reason they got the deal in the first place. So I think this should be the last season, because when they first came on, they were so close. They were so close. All 5 sisters, they would break out in song, gather around the piano and sing, and they cracked jokes all the time. They would take a sister trip every season, and then it just started to go downhill when Vince showed up for one of their sister trips. And I love the Braxtons. I really want them to work things through. It may be best if they not continue with the show. It may be best, but if they don't, hopefully they'll give Traci her own show, because she carried on well with the other reality stars for those 2 or 3 episodes in the latter part of this season. And another thing, I wonder, how is it that Tamar said what she said about Iyanla and then behaved the way she did, asking for forgiveness from everyone in the room, but then went on Wendy Williams and called the woman a devil? Tamar talked about her sexual abuse when she was younger by members on both sides of her family. And I expected that they would at least air a snippet of what happened. It's possible WeTV chose not to air Tamar's admission that she was sexually abused. But I also wonder if that was because there's a rumor that Iyanla allegedly threatened a lawsuit against Tamar. Would WeTV have been dragged into that lawsuit if they had aired it? That's the reason I watched these last two episodes, because Tamar said that Iyanla made her feel bad for being sexually abused, and it didn't sit right with me because I know that Iyanla herself was raped when she was younger. I read her book. So I don't know, victim blaming, I don't know, but I just hope everything works out, and I hope Tamar gets off the internet with the posting of, nasty messages and videos on Instagram or whatever social media page she posted on. She's 41. She needs to grow up. It's time to grow up. And I also hope that her Mr. Nigeria boyfriend, watched this behavior from Tamar to see, you know, is this the kind of woman I want to be with? Is this the woman I want to be with? And is she willing to change her behavior? Because I don't want that negative spirit in my life, because Tamar really has a negative spirit and she needs to get off social media, because if she continues, it's going to it's going to cause another rift in the relationships she has with her sisters and her best friend. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree, disagree with anything I said about the season finale of Braxton Family Values, season 6? Don't forget to drop your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great weekend.